So it's my great honor to introduce the Honorable Michael Bloomberg. And I feel somewhat silly in this city, in this crowd, trying to describe Michael Bloomberg because so many of you know him, know what he accomplished, and have lived it during one of the most remarkable careers as a big city mayor anywhere, anytime. He made the city bigger, better educated, cleaner, safer, more desirable, more prosperous, and he did it by always driven by his own values, not by ideology, trying to do the right thing in the right way with the right people. What an amazing formula for success. And to have him be willing tonight to come here and introduce our honoree speaks yet again to one of his great talents. He himself an immense talent, always was confident enough and wise enough to have incredibly talented people around him. And Bob, as you know, served as his deputy mayor for economics, and that was part of the engine that just made New York fantastic for a great 3 terms under his mayorship. So I'm not going to recite things you already know about his history, his generosity, or even the Johns Hopkins affiliation's been mentioned, so we covered the East Coast colleges again. But I would like to ask for a thunderous round of applause for one of the best mayors anywhere ever, Michael Bloomberg.
Jim, thank you for those kind words. He said it exactly the way I wrote it. Good evening, and thank you for inviting me to honor 2 wonderful people. First is Bob Steele. Bob played a very important part in our administration's work while we were in City Hall. He and Jillian have become good social friends after us, working in City Hall. He got paid $1 a year when he was there. He had a 4-foot desk in the middle of a bullpen. I think it's probably the only time he ever sat at a desk that size. He was one of the first people in the morning and one of the last to leave, and the city was wonderfully served by Bob. I also want to thank the Aspen Institute and Jim and Walter in particular. Lucky to have Walter on the board of our foundation. Bloomberg Philanthropies works with Walter and the Aspen Institute to organize the City Lab Conference every year, which brings people together from around the world to share ideas on how to make our cities better. Cities are where half the people in the world live. Pretty soon it's going to be 70% of the people living in cities. Cities are where the problems are, and cities are where the solutions are. And Walter really has helped us an awful lot to pull together the best minds and to share best practices. We were in Miami last week for a conference, the 4th one that we've had. The Aspen Institute and the Atlantic magazine and Bloomberg sponsor this, and we make a big difference, I think, by giving mayors a chance to share best practices and to go home and to understand that it's possible for them to make this world a better place. I think Walter would agree with me that Bob Steele is the quintessential person to show how you can make a difference in cities, and I just wanted to give you one example. Bob spearheaded our applied science competition to attract world-class science and engineering to New York City to build a new engineering campus, and it was one of the most ambitious economic development projects in the city's history, and Bob really was the driving force behind it. He came up with the idea, he got a whole bunch of universities to compete. Cornell won the competition along with the Technion, and they are creating a world-class graduate engineering school in New York City, which will bring businesses to New York City for decades to come. And it really is a game changer for our city. Bob led a number of other economic development projects as he was working in the city. I think he saw parts of the city that none of us had ever even heard of before. He went from the northern part of the Bronx to the southern part of Staten Island and everything between, and he helped in so many ways. One of the ways that really made a difference was building affordable housing. In New York City, there's not enough housing for the people here, and Bob made an enormous difference. He also helped in building parks. Brooklyn Bridge Park was his creation, and it really is a wonderful place. You should go down there and try it. He has helped us come back. He helped us come back from the Great Recession. The city came back stronger than ever before. He helped us continue the redevelopment of the downtown area near the World Trade Center after that terrible tragedy. Today, if you go down there, it's a bustling community. We have 25 hotels down there. Before 9/11, we only had 5. Nobody lived down there before 9/11. Today, it's just chock-a-block full of baby carriages and Whole Foods and Bed Bath & Beyond stores. It really has changed the whole city. Then Bob also, you should know, went and saved this whole country. After Goldman Sachs, he went to the Treasury Department along with a number of other people and Hank Paulson, and they really bailed this country out. People don't give them credit enough for what they did. And after leading a major bank after that, that was when I walked up to him one day and said, Bob, I want you to come to work for the city for $1 a year. You're going to have to sit in the bullpen. You're going to have to work 24/7, and by the way, the press is just going to vilify you. All of which was true, incidentally. Fortunately, he decided that public service was what he really wanted to do, and we owe him a great debt of gratitude. I also wanted to thank Melinda Gates, the other honoree here. She and her husband have really done an enormous amount of work all over the world in so many things. They are the quintessential philanthropists. And I can just tell you that Bloomberg Philanthropies looks to them as the role model, as do so many other people here tonight. So Melinda, congratulations and thank you for everything you've done. And Bob, you changed this city in ways that most people don't appreciate. But for decades to come, this is really Bob Steele's city. God bless and thank you and congratulations.
The Mayor's Act is a little hard to follow, so I won't try very hard. One of the things I'd like to say to the mayor, of course, is that I think I share the view of a lot of people in this room that he might have made a different decision on running for president for at least 2 reasons. A lot of people in this room would have voted for him, and number 2, he would have been able to appoint Bob as Secretary of the Treasury, which would have been fine. We're running a little tight. I just want to share one story. A couple of you heard it last night when we were kibitzing about how Bob got involved in the Aspen Institute. Through a mutual friend, I got a phone call and said, hey, there's a fellow, he's going to be retiring from Goldman Sachs. He's going to be buying a house in Aspen. He'd like to get involved in the Aspen Institute. And then, of course, I hear that like a dozen times a month, and I yawned and said, okay, who is it? And Bob and I had lunch, and I gave him my standard line, and I said, listen, if you really want to know what the Aspen Institute is about, take the executive seminar. And when I say that to people, that screens out about 95% of them. And then lo and behold, about 4 months later, I got a letter from Bob and a phone call thanking me for recommending him taking the Aspen seminar, the executive seminar. And as I got to know Bob, I think that's really reflective of his personality and who he is. When he says he's going to do something, he actually does it. And I think the way he formed himself, we all have experiences when younger in life, and given the age group of some of us here, a lot of us were Boy Scouts when we were much younger, as was Bob. I never made it to an Eagle Scout, which he did. And I think what that stands for is what Bob has retained his whole life. And so I want to congratulate you and thank you very much for everything you have done, Bob.
Good evening. The other night, Walter came to me and said, Francis, how long is your speech? I said, maybe 2 minutes. He says, cut it in half. So here goes. The Henry Crown Leadership Award was established to honor the things that Henry Crown held dear, honor, integrity, giving back to the community, all the good things in life. And tonight I am extremely pleased, on behalf of the Henry and Gladys Crown Charitable Trust, to present to Bob Steele the 2016 Henry Crown Leadership Award. Was that quick enough?
Well, thank you all very much. It's really an incredible honor to be here with all of you and to take in the evening. I've already been so mesmerized by the conversation and the comments earlier by Melinda Gates and the conversation with Walter that the evening has already set a great high. It's just good to be here, and thank you, Francis and Bill, for being on the stage with me to be part of this too. I think the fact that Mayor Bloomberg was kind enough to come and make remarks was really meaningful to me. I've seen and worked with lots of amazing people, but really in the ultimate top of everything I've ever seen has been Mayor Bloomberg. When you look at his career and the triple threat of being a successful businessman, an amazing public servant, and then also so committed to philanthropy like Melinda, it's just extraordinary, and I learned so much by working for him that it really is a great honor to me that he came tonight to be part of the evening. So, Mr. Mayor, thank you very, very much. For me, also, too, this is has a special resonance because of the fact that it's the Henry Crown Award. And so what I did was try to think and learn a little bit about why this is and why it means so much. And the story is one that we all should take a moment, and Francis alluded to. This was a life that was lived with hard work. His father and mother were immigrants from Polish Russia. He came to this country. Henry Crown was born in Chicago, left school at 14, then learned bookkeeping at night, and then he and his brother started Material Service Corporation. And again, a little bit like Mayor Bloomberg, after great commercial success and owning the Empire State Building, among other things, then really had a life of philanthropy and giving back. And so with that type of image in our mind, or my mind, it's really extraordinary for me to be able to be the recipient of this award and to know the Crown family. And as Walter asked Melinda about how passing down values from their parents to them and then to their children, the Crown family is really the ultimate epitome of this same type of idea of making sure that it continues all through the family. And whether it's Lester and Jim, who's here tonight, and all the rest of the family, it's really great for me to be connected to this by this, this nice recognition. Let me just conclude by just saying a couple of thank yous, and bear with me. I think the first is to say thank you to the leadership of the Aspen Institute. As Bill said, I became involved about 15 years ago, and to see what's been done by the Institute with the incredible leadership of Walter and all of his team, it's really extraordinary, and they really should enjoy a round of applause right now. Thank you, Walter. I think, too, that my fellow trustees have been an amazing group of people that I've learned so much from, to be with them and to see their contribution. And there's some people, the trustees who were there before me, who when the Institute wasn't on the strongest footing, put their shoulder to the wheel and improved things, brought Walter in and helped turn it around and create an inflection point. And for all of my fellow trustees, I say thank you, too. But let me... And I think, too, that it's most appropriate that I say another thank you. And, when you get involved in these types of things, it's really captivating. And the Institute has been a captivating thing for me. I think if I had a psychiatrist, they would say I'm an affiliator, and I'm okay with that. But I think that the Institute's something that I became excited by and wanted to be part of. But I have to confess, that was a bit selfish in some ways, too. And so the people I also have to thank, maybe lastly, is to say thank you to my family, to Jillian and all three of my daughters who are here, to let me exercise this too. I guess the last comment was when I was asked about this, it reminded me in 1988, I was invited to be a partner at Goldman Sachs. And so they put a list out, and I got a phone call from a friend who said to me, you know, it's amazing. There's another guy who works at Goldman Sachs named Bob Steele, and he made partner. So I feel a little bit the same way tonight, that there must be another there must be another guy named Bob Steele that was supposed to get this award. But I'll pretend it's me and say lastly, thank you very much.